everyone, it's Sakuems. It's been a while since I have talked to the camera. I don't even know why. I guess I was just a little bit in the fence. I didn't like my hair. I didn't like how I looked. I don't exactly know. I got lazy. But I figured it was about time because I wanted to start a series of videos on this channel that I really wanted to do for a while, but I couldn't really articulate it properly. And I didn't want to sound too controversial, or I don't know, I just felt like I needed time to think about it first. And so you probably already have tell by the name of the title of this video, those are going to be a series of art vlogs or art talk. I don't know, I think I'm going to call them like art talk or something. It's not going to be how to draw things or like, you know what I mean? It's not actual tutorial, everything like that. It's more like what goes around it and how you could basically just ask any questions that is about art or about artists, and you actually didn't feel like you could ask the questions. It's like you know, talking about style or about colors or about how you can get better at art, or what does it mean to actually get better at art, what it's like to be a professional artist, how you could be a professional artist. And I think I'm going to target the videos around like the technical aspect of things, but like talking videos, not actually showing anything, and also about business side of things, what I've learned over the past 4 years, what I've learned during my art education, and all those things. So I have like a tiny list of topics that I want to approach in those videos. And before I even start talking about anything else, this one is going to be a bit longer because I have an introduction about the series. And so, first disclaimer, because it's essential on YouTube, they're going to be talking videos. So if you don't like me talking and rambling about stuff, it's probably the wrong video, so bye! I'll see you next week. If you also know the disclaimer, those videos are going to be more about open conversation about a specific topic. Some might be a little bit, I wouldn't say controversial, but I might have a strong opinion about something, and I feel like my channel is where I'm supposed to state what I want to state instead of going in other places and talking about this thing in the comments, for example. This is my getaway. This is where I'm supposed to share what I've learned, what I think, and how you could maybe learn from it or maybe differ from that, which is why I want to make this video, is also to engage a conversation with all of you, whether you're artists or not, whether you're a young or an older person than me. If you're younger or not, you can have a voice in the comments and tell me what you think compared, like, and actually reply to the questions of each video. So because I feel like it's essential, especially with new media and YouTube and all those things, because when I was starting to think about art as a career, there was no YouTube. I was 13 years old. There was not even Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. And so I can't imagine, I mean, it was hard. It was hard to picture myself selling artworks to the other side of the world, which I do now. I never thought it will happen like that. I never thought it could take that much time, because I'm 29 years old and I'm finally touching wood because it's finally working for me, and it took a long time. And so now, with all the current media we have and all the resources we have online, and everyone has a voice, especially with YouTube, us artists, and I'm talking about people who are in the industry, and if you are like 25 to 30 to maybe more, like if you are older than this and you actually been into this industry, to share your thoughts, to share your experience with others is going to help them drastically to not make the same mistakes as you. And I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have done, and I also feel like I have an opinion about different things that might help or not. And if you disagree with what I have to say, it's perfectly fine, and I would love to hear from you. What is your experience and why do you disagree with what I have to say? Because that's how we learn from each other, and that's how we grow as a person and as artists. And so those videos, yeah, I guess this is going to be like this type of topic and this type of discussion. And I have a little list, which so I don't digress too much, because the topic that I'm going to talk about in this first video is quite I I guess it's just really complex and it depends on a lot of factors. But since this is my channel and this is my video, I am going to share my experience with art school. Yeah, so the first video of the series is basically art school or art education versus being self-taught or actually not going to any art classes. And I'm going to start this by saying that no matter what you think you're going to do, there's no really a better way, and there's no need to have an art education to be an artist. However, if you have the potential, if you can go both ways, think about it first before you just hate on the art school. All that, like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like for the last couple, I don't even know how many years, on YouTube especially, but on the internet, I just saw a lot of people dissing and bashing and hating on art schools, like it was overpriced, like you didn't need it, like you could be self-taught and all those things, and kind of bashing all of it. And I've been to art school, and I'm going to say that I loved it. It was amazing. It was the best time of my life. But after a couple of years, looking back at it now, because it's been 4 or 5 years now, I enjoyed it a lot and I learned a lot. And so I'm going to be the ones talking about it in a positive way. I am pro art school in a way, if you want to call it. But of course, it depends on a lot of factors. That's kind of why I want to make the video, is to kind of like give you pros and cons of what it's like to go to art school. But keep in mind that my experience is based on a complete different setup than if you live in the United States of America, for example, because art schools here in France, there's like private expensive schools. I couldn't go to that, but there's a whole like circle or a little institution with different art schools all over the country, and they are connected together, and they are official like government degree, like they have value in the environment, and they have the equivalent of a license or a master's degree. Sorry. And they are fairly inexpensive. I think it's below like $1,000 per year or something, just for the school. Of course you have to pay for art supplies, but I think personally I went for 3 years in my art school, and I think I paid with like art supplies and everything and the school fee. I don't exactly remember, but I think my whole education with supplies cost me about maybe 5,000 euros or something for the 3 years course, which is like nothing, because I know in USA art schools are like up to $100K or something, and you get in debt and all of those things. It's crazy to me. But I also know that I mean, I know for the US, but I think most countries have private art schools. It's always the same, like it's not related to being an art school. It's every college education is expensive, right? And so I understand that you want to ask yourself, should I really want to get in debt for 4 years study of art, even though I know people who are perfectly able to study art on their own without spending money? I would like to say that, of course, there are certain jobs that you can't learn on your own, like being a doctor or a surgeon, or maybe a lawyer, or if you want to get into sales, like being a sales assistant, you kind of need like to get in this environment and learn from different people, and like you need teachers to do that. And I think it's more about the environment and being surrounded by people who are in this mindset that is participating into you or learning everything than compared to being alone. But of course, when it comes to art, I can understand that it could be quite scary to go into art school and to engage yourself into a 3 or 4 years like degree when you know people who have been successful at their work without it. So what's the point paying for that much of money just because you can do the same without it, right? And to me, the price, the cost of school, I believe it's not fair. I agree with that. But I also believe that it really, really depends on the school. So I personally, like I said, I went to art school. So my mindset is kind of different, I suppose, as when I was a kid, like literally, I feel like I was a kid, but I was like about 13, 14 years old. And that's when I decided I wanted to be an artist when I grew up. I wanted to be an artist, I wanted to sell artworks. I didn't have a name for it. I just knew that I wanted to draw and sell my work. I didn't know why it would be possible. And so from a very early age, I wanted to go to art school. Like I have an idea to have an art education. And so I started to look up for art education from a very early, like teen. I think I was about 16 or something, or even before that. To just realize that 90% of the schools that I wanted to go to were hell expensive for my, like for, it wasn't possible. And I can't get a student loan for art school. Like I understand it could be stressful, but the thing is, I didn't go because I had bad like opinion about it. Like I heard really bad things about the competition, the pressure, and like just a lot of different feedbacks that didn't seem like, okay, this is not for me. I don't want to feel that pressure. I don't want to be around people who think they are better than everyone else or hate on others, which I will talk about later. I had a very bad feeling about art schools. Private art schools, because first of all, the ticket to enter this, because in France it's completely different. Like I say, in the US, paying for college is pretty it's normal, right? It's basic. But in France, there's a lot of public schools, and so if you go to a private school and you have to pay to get the education, it is pretty much always very arrogant kids, because this is not based on what I experienced, but even in my own school where things were quite inexpensive, there was a couple people who were very like from a poor or middle class background, but there was also like some rich people. Like it doesn't really matter. There was pretty mixed, but I searched online for a lot of information about other schools before trying to even apply to them, before thinking about getting a student loan for them. And every feedback that I got was that there was a lot of competition, a lot, and people kind of hated on each other. And because they paid for their education a lot of money, there were a very specific group of people coming to this type of schools. It wasn't only based, and sadly, on talent. It was mostly based on who can pay, And so I didn't really feel like it. There was one school that I might go. I really wanted to go to this school. It was actually called, I don't want to name any school because I feel like it's not fair, because I don't want to hate on specific schools, because I want to talk about the art education as a whole, but I wanted to go to a specific school. And it was 10K per year just for the school, and that's supplies and everything, and like I will still have to pay for rent and all those things. So it was definitely a lot of money, and it was it's a comic, like French comic illustration type of school, so that was pretty amazing. There was also animation in this, and that was kind of ideal at the time. But I also had bad feedback, and this is the type. I forgot to write that. This is very important. This is one of the cons, which is to be. Hang on, I need to write it first. One thing that I fear the most, and I think you should be aware of that, is if you really want to go to art school, you have to be careful to not be too immersed and too transformed by it, because it is a very not closed-minded, but it's a very seclusive, is it the word, or closed environment that is going to teach their ways to you. And since they are teaching ways to different people, but this is one way of teaching, people tend to not exactly being brainwashed, but you're being formatted or kind of shaped in their own vision. And I saw that, you tend to lose your own individuality, your own style, or your own artist approach. And I guess your identity as an artist isn't fully developed because you are in a very specific mindset and a way of learning and a way of teaching. And so you get shaped by art school in a very closed environmental way, in one vision. This is what they learn, even if you have like 10 teachers or 20 teachers, it is still an institution that is based on what people learned before, and they are going to pass that on to you. But in other places, in other art schools, and with other artists who didn't go to art school, you will have a completely different mindset, a completely different education, a completely different, like, in terms of how they are going to teach art in very, like, quote, this is going to be completely different. And so one thing that I've learned about this school that I wanted to go with, and I really wanted to go, is I talked to a couple of people who came from that school that were searching for jobs, and every one of them got kind of rejected. Not everyone, but like a lot of them got rejected. And let's say there's like 20 people coming out of school with their degree, searching for a job in the same city, which is a big city, but still they're searching for a job, and some got rejected because the guy or the person like doing the interview said to them, you come from that school, but oh my god, I can't hire you because you all draw the same. That's one thing that I learned, is some people got rejected because after 4 years or 3 years into the art school, learning from these teachers and everyone learning from the same teacher, they started to develop a style that wasn't theirs, that was kind of homogeneous, is it a word, that was generic and that was the same as other artists. Instead of developing their own style and their own art approach, they started to mimic what others were doing based on the teacher's style or based on what they were like, what you receive something and you start to practice one way, and every other student is doing the same thing. So of course it's gonna be really hard to stand out for yourself and to be different. And when you're looking for a job, whether it's like in an art agency or for advertising or self-employed, no matter what you're doing, if you are too generic or too the same as one of like your student and you don't stand out, then it's a problem. And that's one thing that is, I guess, against art school, is it's pretty hard to go into, I guess, immerse yourself into a specific way of teaching and like learning art, but still not forget who you are and who you're supposed to be, and grow personally, knowing that art school is just one way of learning. It's as its own environment, and it's based on different. It's an institution, so it's one way of doing things, and there's like other options, right? And I've learned that going through high school after my first year. Okay, so I went to art school. I was a very cocky, arrogant brat, and I thought I was amazing, and I was very close-minded, and I was also very like young in my head. Like I was 18, and I was a shock to me. Like art school was a shock. It was intense. I think I cried a couple times, and I also think that I grew a lot. So, and yeah, I think most people will go to art school about at like age like 17, 18, or about that time. I think I was 19 maybe? I don't exactly remember, but it was 10 years ago. I started art school 10 years ago. So, I wanna get to the point because I feel like I talked too much already. To me, art school was definitely intense, and that's one thing I want to talk about before going into the without art school, is what are the pros and cons, I suppose, of going to an art education. First things first, the pros. So for me, I think the major thing that I got from art school was to know what other artists, or what it's like to be surrounded by artists. I think it's very hard to be friends with artists. It's either like you really click and like you have an amazing time, or you don't feel like you belong with any of the groups. Because we are strong individuals, it's working really well, or it's not working at all. And for me, it worked for about a few months, and I made like art friends, if you want to call them like this. But after a couple like more time, started to not really get what they were doing. They didn't get me at all, and I started to isolate myself a lot. And I didn't have any friends in the 3 years of school. But that's like, I think that's my problem, is that actually I've kept any friends from school. I'm pretty lonely. Oh, thank God I have internet. But in art school, it's pretty hard. You also, so yeah, just keep that in mind. I lacked a bit of work ethic and growth as a person, and I think the best thing I've learned in school is also just to grow as a person and to grow my art with it. Because if you grow up as a person, your heart will kind of follow that, and if you grow your heart, no, if you grow your art, you're gonna grow too, you know, because they're connected together. And yeah, that's also like something quite important, is you could do that on your own, but it's going to be much more noticeable if you grow because of your environment and like straightforward critics and having people judging your work and having teachers hating on what you're doing. People in my school, it's different for any school, but teachers and students in my school, they hated on manga, they hated on anime, they hated on fantasy artwork, they hated on illustrations. I went to a fine art school and it sounds like I hated it, but no. It's just that it was very specific. And so after a couple of months, I realized that I just had to take the best out of it and just not forget who I was and what I loved. So with this mindset, you can survive, you can go to art school if you know how to get the best out of it, but not get yourself completely, not lose yourself into their ways and allow them to shape you as an artist, you know what I mean? So that's the biggest advice for me if you want to go to art school. And if you have that, then I think it's pretty amazing to go, if you can pay for it, of course. Because to me, this is my list of pros and cons, and I think they pretty much are like, it's a 50-50. I think there's more pros than cons if you remove the price tag. I guess, okay, let me put the list. Pros for me is growing as an artist. You have time to develop your work. If you are going to a different education, like for, I don't know, medical stuff, whatever it might be, you can, and it's a pretty intense education to go to college, right? If you have, I don't know, like 34, 40 hours of work for your education, you don't have time for your art. So you're gonna take a lot more time to develop it. And if you want to go in a professional route as an artist after college education, because maybe you didn't find a job into your college degree branch, you're gonna have to step back and take time to learn and like progress as an artist to be ready to be a professional artist. You're gonna miss a bit of time. What I love the most is to actually have time to develop my art and to practice and experiment and just do everything that I wouldn't be able to do unless I just didn't have an education or something, like, you know, a lot of time. And that was really amazing because time helped me develop my art, and I grew and all of those things. It was a 3-year art degree. You get to do different projects. My first year, I did everything. I had sculpting, I had video making type of like short films. I had photography classes. I was able to use like old cameras and all. I had a color theory classes, a painting class, a observation like still life drawing. I have living like models and all, like those like really classical drawing classes. I had a trip. I also had trips. I went to Venezia for like art exhibitions. I went to Paris for a couple of art exhibitions. I met artists from like, I think over the course of 3 years, I met about 15 artists. They came to the school and they talked about their work. And we have those like workshops where you have to play the game and like practice in their own way and try to create an artwork, mixing their approach with your approach and trying to produce something. And we have a lot of those things. Like I had a workshop every month with a different artist or something. Almost. I think yeah, I guess I had I don't know exactly, but I think over the course of 3 years, I kept a track of it. I don't have it, but if you want me to show what I produced in art school, I can make a video separately. I have a big giant like binder with all my work. I produced a lot of content, and something that I will never do on my own, something I will never thought about doing. I worked about different things. I work with like words, I work with colors, I work with like plants, and I also do engraving. I worked with mixing photography and color and paint. I worked about like dark stuff, abstract stuff, design. I worked so many different things, and yeah, it just opened I opened myself to very different things, but never forgetting and still working on my personal work. I still uploaded YouTube videos and everything. I was still doing my little fantasy like girly characters, but everything that I did in school kind of played a part into developing my style and my approach that I have right now, and all those things just it's melting in my head, and I grew as an artist. I grew as an artist because of all the projects that I have. It get me a bit more open-minded, more than my teachers who hated on what I was doing. They expect you to be open-minded to everything, but it's okay, and don't try to ask them to be open-minded to your work, because they're pretty much already old news. And I had that happening to me. And my art history like teacher kind of hated on the artist that I presented. I loved her work, and if you want to check her out, it's Josephine Wall. She's doing amazing fantasy artwork, and I used her as a reference in some project. And she kind of, my teacher hated on this, and she thought I was losing myself in this type of artwork. And it got me to a point I was like really laughing in my head, because she expected me to be open, but she wasn't. But I just know she was just an old lady, and she was already old school. She wasn't an artist herself. She was an art history of art teacher or contemporary art teacher. I was the one who was going to be an artist, so I knew that it was okay for her to be close-minded, but I had to open my mind to accept her being close-minded. And if you have this mindset, you should be okay. And of course, it depends on schools. Believe it, it depends. I'm sure other artists went to art school, have a completely different mindset, maybe have amazing time with their teachers. I had a bit of a hard time, but I just played my part, and I actually enjoyed it after a while, and I tried to just have fun with different projects. It wasn't what I loved to paint at all, because I did an abstract art degree painting kind of thing, but I still liked it. I still liked the fact that I was able to put myself out there. We had like every 3 or 4 months we had to do like a small exhibition with our works and talk about it for like 20 minutes. It's like, hey, my name is Emily. I have to like summarize my work of over the last 4 or 6 months in 10 minutes, and I need my teachers to understand my statement and my approach and everything. And believe it, it was like 10 years, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I wasn't really used to explain how I was seeing my work. If I was doing it now, I would be a little bit more coherent and cohesive, and I would make a point, and I will stand for myself, which you should do carefully, but you should. I think that in art school, I was a bit scared at some point, and I tend to agree with the teacher instead of making a point at saying, hey, this is my intention, this is what I wanted to do in this project, and that's valid because I'm an individual, you're an individual, we are both into this art industry, and I am not worthless just because I'm younger than you. Be aware of that. And just stand for yourself, because if you're serious about this and you go to art school because you want to be an artist after, and you are seeing yourself as an artist, as a profession, you are allowed to stand for yourself and your ideas. Listen to what people are saying. Maybe do not go too crazy in your first year of art school, but I think starting second year, third year, you can't stand out. You can't just tell like teachers, this is how I see this project, and defend it. Like, make a point into defending and explaining and validating what you're saying and what you're doing based on a few references. My teachers loved it when I was using references like that. and it will make a point. It will validate your intentions. That's really important. I guess I'm giving more like how to survive art school tips, but I guess it could be helpful, right? Yeah, that's the generic idea. You can ask yourself things. This is about the process of growing as an artist, whether you're doing it on your own or with art school. Personally, with art school, I was kind of forced to do that. Used to ask myself all the time, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Every decision you make, colors, composition, style, theme, any line on your drawing is like, why? What is the reason behind this? Why do you do it? I used to just say, I don't know, I like it. But now I was kind of forced to do, I guess, an interpretation of my work and thinking about the message behind it, or just have a reason for it, because we are creating images, and if you want to be, I guess it depends. Different artists, different methods, of course, but personally, I like the fact that now I'm able to, it's a bit of a struggle, because you're gonna be shaped by that mindset of having to question your work all the time, and not being able to do simple stuff now. I'm having a bit of a struggle, so be aware of that. It depends on schools, but I feel like now I am a little bit too intellectual in my ways, and I've lost the instinct of just doing it for the sake of doing it, or just because I like it and I think it looks nice. I always like this thing in my head that I want to have depth in my work, and I'm asking myself, how do I get to that point? It's not a bad thing, it's just, it gets time to adjust, to this. I think most art schools are like that. They push yourself. You're being pushed to develop yourself as an artist, whether they want to shape yourself with how they want, or if you are in a very open art school and people trying to push yourself to be your best version of an artist and to make you grow. There's still it's happening. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of different, like there's a peer pressure of other artists, of teachers, and yourself. It is very intense. We're a creative person, and when there's like creativity, it's a bit crazy. After a while, you're just going to figure out how you can handle things. But it was a bit of a struggle for me. I would like to say it was a bit hard at first, and that I just liked the process, and I just had fun with it. And at one point, I was actually almost playing like a game in a way that I was doing what teacher was expecting from me, but I was still having fun trying new things. And like I said, it sounds like I don't like it. I liked it. I learned a lot, and I don't regret any of anything. You get a degree. That's kind of cool. Like, I have an art education degree. This has either a very judgmental, like, oh, you think you're better than anyone else because you went to art school, which I get all the time. People just assume that when you go to art school, you're just like some shitty, arrogant, like, artist. There's people like that. It's not a cliche. There are people like that. But a couple of times, people are just, it has value, to get a fine art degree. And when you have a degree with it, it still makes a point, like it's a statement in a way. I learned how to do things, but don't get me wrong, I actually didn't learn how to draw in school at all. I know 3 years of art school, there was not a single how to draw class. You are developing yourself alone on that road. You have time to practice, you have the tools, you have the teachers, you have tons of reference books, but if you don't do the job, there's useless. Don't go to art school expecting to get everything delivered on you on a silver platter. You need to do the work. You need to ask people stuff. You need to go to art exhibition. You need to practice and study things. And that's why I think there's no such things as being self-taught artists, because even if you don't go to art school, you can't do it on your own. You need others. We need other artists. You need resources. You need books. You need to practice and share your work to get better at this, and just try different things. And you can learn with different resources on your own, so you're doing the job yourself. But those resources that you're using to learn, they're coming from other people. So you're not self-taught. You taught yourself how to use other things, but that's pretty much the same thing as going into art school. I am self-taught in my own, I guess, technical aspect of things. Nobody told me how to draw. I do it myself, and I learned through different people. But I am also taught by others how to do this. I don't think it's possible to be self-taught, really, in that sense of doing it yourself, because we all do it ourselves. Nobody's gonna tell me how to paint or how to see something, and my own vision is different from that. Your vision is different. We are all self-taught, you know what I mean? And nobody is, in a way. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of like my go-to answer with that. Yeah, so I think did I cover everything? Oh, the last thing I wanted to say is, depending on art schools, you have to be careful and try to look at it if they have a legal background or legal course. Basically, everything that is related to pricing your art, selling your work, maybe the legal status of the artist, being your own, like self-employed, whatever it might be, freelance jobs, like everything related to how you could actually be professional and selling your work and how it works out. It depends on art school, I suppose, but in my art schools, that was a spoken rule. Like, you don't talk about money, you don't talk about how you can sell your work. Nope. So check the classes if your art school has it, and if it's not involved, there's no like legal or financial background in your education during the 3 or 4 years, try to find a school that has it, or optional classes that has a legal background. Because what I did is, after 3 years in art school, I went to a management school for 2 more years for a master's in actual project management, and I've learned every legal thing that I need to do, and how to manage a project, how to handle like deadlines and pricing and all those things, which I still don't know how to do, but I got my master's degree, so I still figure it out, and it allowed me a bit more time to practice and develop my my audience online and all those things, so I was a bit more prepared. So yeah, the cons of art school, basically, yeah, like I said, it's quite expensive, and you're kind of being exclusive to a very specific mindset and the ways of teaching, and it's hard to digress to, I guess, separate yourself from that, but still grow as an artist. It's going to be complex. You have the pressure of peer pressure, other people, teachers, yourself, maybe your own family is going to be like, you're spending a lot of money, so if you don't do it properly, maybe people are going to be like kind of judgy, like you wasted money, and so it's going to be it could be stressful. Judgment, of course, a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work. Art school is pretty intense. I had like white nights. My mindset, because I tend to be unable to work ahead, I always had to work before essays or before my release date or whatever, and I spent a lot of time and nights working on art stuff. It's a lot of work. So just try to see different programs from different schools, and in the end, if you can't go, my advice, so if you really can't go to art school or have any art education, still try to find maybe open classes or free classes or any type of workshop you could do, and study a lot, get books, talk to artists on the internet, try to find resources on DeviantArt or YouTube. It's easier now with new media than it was for me like 10 years ago, so it should be okay. One thing that you can't do on your own, I guess the most important thing that you can get in art school and you can't do on your own is time. You need time to study and practice and listen to others and figure things out. Maybe get a different college. Maybe don't go to college. It's perfectly fine. You can maybe find a shorter type of degree to learn something and get a job straight away. Like maybe do a part-time job and work on your art on your own time, or get private courses online. They're a bit cheaper than going to a full college education. And don't forget the legal background stuff. That's basically the tips. But I do think that if you can go to art school, you have the money for it, and you are willing to accept it's a specific mindset, and you don't forget who you are, and you just try. I even 1 year, even if you don't complete your education, to be honest. I know some people, the school I wanted to go, like I know some people, they did a 1 year course or a 2 year, they don't have the degree, they went to do something else after, but they spent a year or 2 years in this school, and they learned a lot of things, and they don't regret it, even if they didn't get your, if you don't get your degree, it's not the end of the world. You can still learn a lot of things, and you can still use it to be a self-employed artist, or to just find a job into any type of art agency or whatever it might be. Or, you know, it's still possible. It's not the end of, like, it's not just, oh, no art school or full-on degree. Like, you can just, you know, just do one bit and just like keep on like following your journey in another direction. It's perfectly fine. I guess it is pretty much it for the video. It is quite long, I warned you, and if you're still listening, thank you so much. I guess I'm still for art schools, but it just depends on the school. This is a closed environment, and there's a lot of people outside of this environment who are thinking completely differently. So don't forget that. There's a place for you somewhere. It just takes time, practice, and just, you know, just take your time. That's one thing, like take your time. And even if you don't want to go straight away into art school, you can spend a year doing a part-time job, practicing your artwork, and figure it out the year after if you want to enroll or not. Art school will still be here in a year or 2 years after. You don't have to go like all the way now. It's okay to think about it first, and maybe work to save money if you really want it. You know, there's different options, but I just want people to know that I just want artists and like a lot of people who are talking about this topic to not hate on art schools that much, because they are highly valuable, same as other ways to learning art. It's just put you in a mindset of developing your art, and to me it was highly helpful. I wouldn't be able to do it by myself because I needed this structure. So yeah, I think I covered everything. Thank you so much if you're still listening, and thank you for joining into this open debate. It's not really open because I can't talk to you directly, like you can't reply, but I would love to hear from you in the comment section. Tell me anything, if you've been to art school or not, if you want to go to art school or not, what you think about everything, what you think about self-taught versus not self-taught, can you really be self-taught or not, and all this topic. And also if you have any questions, like I said, about any other topic you want me to talk about, money, art and money and all this is a very interesting topic, and also how it's like to be an artist, like a professional artist, all those questions, just pop them below, and I'll try to read everything, and I will make a second video in this series. I don't know when. I think I'm gonna do one a month, maybe 2, and yeah, I hope that was helpful in any ways. And I think that will be it. So thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.